Every match at this level feels like life and death to you. What do you mean by that?
I think I told myself that I wasn't tired enough, and I think and I told this to my team that I wasn't finishing the points tired.
I'm not a type of player. No disrespect to other players in the ranking. I'm not happy to be one of the best in what I do. And you know what? I might not achieve.
Of course, my goal is to get even higher in the ranking, to get this position as number one. But I know it's still a lot of work. It's all depends on the other players too. And definitely that's my biggest goal, next goal. So I actually didn't think about this statistic because I lost in Australia. So I think it was.
Rybakina advanced to the final of the Italian Open. She defeated a veteran in the top 10, a U.S. Open champion, and a Roland Garros semi-finalist. However, none of those names come up when you ask her teammates whose game caused them the most anxiety. This week, a 20-year-old Filipino who had never won a 1,000 match placed everything in danger of collapse. Keep checking back because Eala's post-match interview explains why. Alex Eala, a 20-year-old Filipino sensation, is joining us following her 6-4 victory over Magdalena Frech in the third set on Petrangeli. Firstly, congrats on your victory. I watched the whole game. You do realize that it was essentially a three-movement symphony? You bageled her in the first set, she came back, won the second set 6-4, got up a break in the third, and then you turned it around and won in three. What transpired during the final 20 to 25 minutes of the game that gave you the opportunity to take charge? I guess I told myself that I wasn't weary enough. I informed my team that I wasn't finishing the points with enough fatigue, and I believe that's the case. Perhaps the intensity decreased a little, but I did my best to give each point a little extra push, and it worked. You briefly discussed that further push with us in Miami. You frequently remind your team that every game at this level seems like life or death to you. You told us on the desk in Miami. By that, what do you mean? Since everyone is incredibly skilled at this level, everything is possible. And I find that to be a lovely quality of Dennis. However, because each match is a unique situation, it's a vocation that keeps you on your toes and under a lot of pressure. Indeed, a single match can have a significant impact on your life. The majority of players control their energy. Eala manages weariness. She measures her level of fatigue as a performance indicator. She could tell the intensity had decreased when she wasn't exhausted. Being self-aware during a 20-year-old game is uncommon. And that's precisely what makes her dangerous. But nobody is talking about this. Her weakness was meant to be clay. When the seasons change, or in my case, clay is not my strongest material. Thus, every game is actually a struggle. Yes, let's discuss it. You practically grew up at the Nadal Academy, which I think has a few clay courts. And then as you point out, you've played relatively little as a professional on clay compared to how much you've played on hard. Are you starting to fall in love with the clay? Is it an ongoing project? Now, how are you enjoying it? Naturally, I'm beginning to develop that bond, particularly at this level, because I participated in clay competitions a lot as a child, but I believe that playing professionally is a different game. This is the only season I've actually participated in these kinds of elite competitions. I completed the 500 in Stuttgart, the 500 in Linz, the thousands, and, of course, Roland Garros. I'm getting my bearings, and I'm confident in my abilities. I've improved both emotionally and physically as a player compared to previous year. I'm pretty pleased with how much I played and, hopefully, the things we've been working on since my team and I have been working really hard. Eala is participating in her first high-level professional clay season. She was raised at the Rafa Nadal Academy, had clay training as a junior, and is currently regularly coached by Tony Nadal. However, she had seldom ever handled professional clay prior to this week. Most individuals missed that plot entirely. Keep working on that, then she's gonna get a lot of cheap points out of it. Honestly, I feel like today was the worst conditions for my game. Very soggy and heavy, which I really despise. Indian 1 always plays fast and hot, and it's fantastic since I can rush opponents. However, I felt like I had to dig deep today and just make balls and run instead of playing my favorite game, let's say my backup plan. Roland Garros, you've had some very impressive results in the clay semi-finals. What aspects of playing well on clay indicate that you're performing well both mentally and in terms of your perspective on the game? I believe that improving my margin within the court was something I worked on a lot after Madrid and something I struggled with in the previous few years on the clay. I feel like I was attempting to take too many risks when I shouldn't have. IGA stated that she wanted to be that wall and that extremely solid player when she first started working with her new coach. For the past few years on the clay, I feel like I've been missing that. It's obviously my interpretation, but it closely resembles what she stated. And that's what I want to see myself play, and I really have to buy into it. She genuinely forgets her victories, so her coach needs to remind her of them. Despite being in the top 10 for 4 consecutive years and making it to the Roland Garros semi-final, she keeps stating, "I might not achieve it." False modesty is not the same as a rival who is made to feel inadequate all the time. On the other side of the draw, Rybakina was working covertly on something. You have a lot of time and, as you mentioned, a great deal of experience and victories to rely on. You appear to be at a wonderful place at the moment. What do you think your motivation, passion, and hunger are? I wish to return to my previous state. I mean, I'm not a type of player, no disrespect to other players in the ranking. I'm not happy where I am right now. And that's who I am. I don't like to do things halfway through, even after I've finished playing tennis. I like to be among the best at what I do. And even if I might not succeed, who knows, I'll do everything in my power to see myself there once more. I also have to constantly remind myself that what I have accomplished in my life is adequate. I do occasionally forget what I've done, so Tom has been reminding me to keep that in the back of my mind. You've always been an all-in kind of person, which is one of the many things we adore about you. So we adore that. Rome, the city, I know the Rome vibes are inspiring for you. Adore the city. Yes, I do. I like the meal. I enjoy when the weather is excellent. I like the conditions because it does play a little bit quicker. You know, what's so bad about Rome? Sakari freely acknowledges that IGA Swiatek's teaching technique, particularly her Be the Wall instruction, served as an inspiration for her clay method. In a rare cross-player philosophical borrow, she said it out loud on camera. She used someone else's model to overcome the most difficult circumstances. When she encounters Rybakina, who stands for the other extreme of the form spectrum, what will happen? Congratulations! I've heard that you have a stringer of your own. Is that correct? Indeed. What is the advantage of possessing that private stringer, then? It works for me and a few other players as well, although having one person string your racket is undoubtedly preferable. Additionally, he makes some suggestions that I can modify based on the situation and keeps track of the rackets to see whether or not I need to make any changes. Therefore, I believe that having someone like him on the team is really beneficial. Elena, you've had more success against the top 10 in the last 6 months, I believe, than you've ever experienced in your career. I wonder if you could explain that, if there's a purpose for that, do you think? Is it the fact that you're playing perhaps better than you've ever played, or is it your focus versus the best players? Over the last 6 months, Rybakina has defeated more players in the top 10 than at any prior period in her career. She revealed something that athletes rarely do in public. Playing a late semi-final the night before an early final is a huge competitive disadvantage. Logistics. No justifications. Because she is so honest, her staff trusts her process. The direction of women's tennis was shown by one event, 3 players, and 3 interviews. Eala is not here to tell stories. Her goal is to be successful. While Rybakina is demolishing the top rank piece by piece, Sakari is operating on hunger and borrowed ideology. Subscribe if you want to be the one who truly understands what's going on tour. It explains what the highlights don't show you. Long, more than a year, nearly 80 weeks in a row. What do you think about her ability to dominate? And now that you're ranked second in the world following this week, do you begin to consider your prospects of rising to the top in the future? Of course, it's a fantastic accomplishment. And you have to be quite consistent if you want to remain at the top for so long. Over the previous few years, she has demonstrated excellent tennis skills. Naturally, I want to rank even higher and take the top spot, but I am aware that there is still a lot of work ahead of me. Everything also relies on the other participants. And yeah, obviously that's my major objective, next goal. So yeah, I will attempt to achieve that this year and hopefully it occurs. How big of a mental advantage does the fact that you have never lost a final versus Arena provide you? Since I lost in Australia, I honestly didn't consider this statistic. However, as I always say, every day is different, every tournament is different, and you can play well one day and wake up the next day feeling less than your best, so I believe you should always try to find a way. We are quite familiar with each other's styles of play, so I would also say that it's a lot about physicality since the ball is heavy here and rallies are a little bit longer than on the other hard courts, which are a little bit faster. It will undoubtedly be a challenging encounter in which both of us will try to serve effectively, apply pressure, and we'll see what happens. Rybakina was informed by the interviewer that she had never lost against Sabalenka in a final. She corrected him right away, noting that she had lost in Australia. She turned off an unnecessary psychological advantage. Her level of mental clarity and resistance to accept cozy narratives are what distinguish her from everyone else currently seeking Sabalenka. Ella still uses the same mental compass at age 20. And that's what I really have to buy into, and I want to see myself playing that way, she remarked. Speaking of Vega, that was one of your finest triumphs this year. You performed admirably in Doha, where you advanced to the semifinals. What are some of the things you've thought you've done extremely well this year in 26, and a few things you'd like to continue to become better? I want to increase that consistency, of course. I want to have tournaments like, I never had, maybe the showy outcomes like win-win-win tournaments back-to-back, but I always, when I was top 10 for 4 years, I had really consistent semifinals, finals, semifinals. That's what I want to see myself doing again, and then finally win the tournaments. Naturally, I really missed the United Cup at the beginning of the season with 2 excellent victories, and then IGA and returning to the semifinals after nearly 2 years, but then I feel like, even though I am 30 years old, there are moments when I feel like a junior. 30 is young. Yeah, it is young, but sometimes I don't utilize my experience merely to decrease the expectations when I have to. But you know what? I still have time. 30 is young, as you mentioned, so we'll see. Eala and Fonseca are followed by entire countries, but she handles the pressure in a way that other athletes never do in public. First, I owe it to myself. Neither the nation nor the individual supporters. This psychological threshold is still unknown to the majority of 20-year-olds. Rybakina functions similarly. Silent, inward, unaffected by the turmoil. This matchup might have been closer than anyone realized.